Don't you understand that the people who do this thing, who practice racism, are bereft? There is something distorted about the psyche. It's a huge waste, and it's a corruption and a distortion. It's a profound neurosis that nobody examines for what it is. It feels crazy. It is crazy.
Superhero comics with an all-black cast are rare, especially in the 70s. The first time a comic had an all-black creative team with black characters, it got shut down by publishers after one issue. In the 70s, writer Don McGregor teamed up with artist Rich Buckler and later the great and powerful Billy Graham, telling Black Panther's first solo story with an all-black cast. Before his solo run, T'Challa spent the 60s and some of the 70s guesting in books like Fantastic Four, Captain America, and the Avengers.
Like I said, Wakanda, it can only be Wakanda's in there. I don't know how many, every issue I was called on the floor and they would say, where's the white people, huh? We need white people. Why do you have any white people in that strip? And I said, where are they supposed to come from? It's your mythology, not mine. You said it was a hidden place. So what? Every issue, people can just walk in, okay, we've discovered Wakanda and we're going to steal the library. That's it. I said, well, I'm not interested. So
you will maintain this safe place for yourself, for your art? You don't think you will ever change and write books that incorporate white lives into them substantially?
I have done.
In a substantial way?
You can't understand how powerfully racist that question is, can you? Because you could never ask a white author, when are you going to write about black people? Whether he did or not, or she did or not. Even the inquiry comes from a position of being in the center.
And being used to being in the center.
And being used to being in the center. And saying, you know, is it ever possible that you will enter the mainstream? It's inconceivable that where I already am is the mainstream.
McGregor's run, also known as Panther's Rage, featured T'Challa returning home to face off against Erik Killmonger. Also, the only white character was named Venom. Venom started off as a villain, but develops a relationship with a Wakandan named Taku. So the character is hinted at being gay, but it isn't explicit due to censorship in comics at the time. While it respects the Jack Kirby and Stan Lee mythos, this run isn't a nostalgia trip. It feels like a novel in every sense of the word. The poetic writing mixed with Graham's fluid sequential storytelling, breaking free of comics cameos and shock value, presenting the politics and culture of Wakanda in depth for the first time. The follow-up to Black Panther's showdown with Killmonger features the King of Wakanda going to Georgia and facing off against the Klan. McGregor originally wanted to do a story about apartheid in South Africa. However, he decided not to because it would require, quote, too much research, unquote. So he ran with the Klan story as a birthday gift to himself. Out of concern for his collaborator, Graham even called to warn McGregor to make sure he really wanted to do the story. They pushed forward with no hesitation. This arc is more about T'Challa's love interest, a singer named Monica Lynne. T'Challa and Monica go back to her hometown in Georgia to investigate the death of her sister Angela. McGregor and Graham dive into Monica and Angela's childhood. We see their family history, her upbringing, and how the Klan has been targeting her family since the group first formed in the 1860s. Issue 22 shows Monica's ancestors dealing with a lack of resources or legal recourse after the Civil War. McGregor, Graham, and Buckler depict the Freedmen's Bureau created to help freed slaves after the war being ineffective. Monica's ancestor goes to the Bureau for help against the Klan. No help, just two white politicians making a joke that he should vote for them. What separates this issue from the rest of the Klan arc is the incorporation of the supernatural with a villain called the Soul Strangler. The story is split into two parts: what really happened and what Monica wished happened. In her version, the Black Panther saves her ancestor. Since it's a flashback, the impact of the real-world history is kind of ruined by Monica's fantasy. In my opinion, it takes away from the fact that people who suffered these atrocities during that time and still today didn't have a Black Panther to save them. The main arc is more grounded. While visiting Angela's grave in issue 19, Monica gets attacked by a bootleg version of the Klan called the Dragon's Circle. T'Challa takes them down and brings them to the town's sheriff, only for them to be released on bail shortly after. This is a common theme throughout the story, showing how deeply the Klan's influence has infected this town. One thing to notice is that Klan is written with a C on the covers and a K in the actual stories. McGregor has mentioned this was a Comics Code issue. Look at this, they're already wearing the pointy white hoods, there's no point in censoring it. A reporter named Kevin Trueblood tells Monica that her sister discovered a conspiracy, that the Klan had taken control of their Georgia town's real estate and political institutions. The Lynne house is one of the few places where T'Challa, Monica, and Kevin can have some breathing room. Monica's parents have stayed put in this house despite the Klan's repeated attempts to push them out. The Lynne family's story lines up with Panthers in this run, as they want to protect their homes from those who want to wipe them out and take over. Near the end of the issue, the Dragon Circle thugs and the actual Klan ambush the Lynne house with Molotovs while Monica and T'Challa investigate Angela's death. The Panther is able to push them back temporarily.
You were born in Omaha, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And your family left Omaha when you were, what, 1 year old?
I imagine about a year old.
And why did they leave Omaha?
Well, to my understanding, the Ku Klux Klan burned down one of their homes in Omaha.
This made your family feel very unhappy, I'm sure.
Well, insecure, if not unhappy.
So you must have a somewhat prejudiced point of view, a personally prejudiced point of view. In other words, you cannot look at this in a broad, academic sort of way, really.
I think that's incorrect, because despite the fact that that happened in Omaha, and then when we moved to Lansing, Michigan, our home was burned down again. In fact, my father was killed by the Ku Klux Klan. And despite all of that, no one was more thoroughly integrated with whites than I. No one has lived more so in the society of whites than I.
Issue 20 opens up with a slice of life scene that looks kind of silly, with Monica and T'Challa doing some shopping. It also paints a picture of the tension in this town, showing the staring, profiling, and exclusion Black, non-white, non-European people experience in spaces white people feel ownership over. Even without the Panther costume, it would have been the same result. Unlike most superheroes, the Panther's costume is cultural. It's his actual uniform. McGregor and Graham comment on recessions and consumerism on top of racial discrimination in this issue. Even though the real-world topics they're covering are serious, they handle it with a sense of humor. An old woman glaring at T'Challa knocks over some cans and boxes, so T'Challa jumps to help her. When some assassins attack, T'Challa and Monica defend themselves. The townspeople see this self-defense as an attack on them. The old woman takes the opportunity to hit T'Challa on the head with a can of tuna, and leaves a cut on his forehead. Townspeople charge at T'Challa while Monica fights the assassins. Later, the police show up, but they're just there to protect the property. It's pretty telling how quickly the townspeople turned on T'Challa when they thought they didn't have to act right. Here's another example of Graham's storytelling prowess, how this woman goes from attacking a person with a can to this smug stance of self-satisfaction. I love the body language here. Black Panther's infamous fight with the Klan happens in issue 20, where he discovers a rally in the swamp. This is the power of Graham's art, going between humor and the mundane or romantic moments to showing the Panther's ferocity, this one figure fighting alone in a sea of pointy white hats. Panther is a superhero, but he's not unbeatable. The fight gets more desperate as T'Challa is outnumbered. This seems to be pretty common with hateful creeps who need to wear uniforms to feel strong and take down people who look different. They usually need a small army to take down one person. The fight ends with one of the most striking scenes in superhero comics. Graham's art adds so much gravity to this run. I've already done a video that focuses on Graham in depth. Despite not making that many comics, Graham was one of the most versatile people in the business. In this run alone, he seamlessly transitions from action to political drama, slapstick, and romance, while doing some intensely memorable credits page designs. I love when artists take the time to make the Panther look cat-like. The transition from Graham showing T'Challa at rest in his moments with Monica, versus when he's jumping around on tree branches fighting Klan members, is a joy to see, going from a regal figure to an anthropomorphic cat just in a few pages. There are certain issues in this run where Graham pencils and inks himself. That's not the case during this arc. T'Challa ends up breaking free and giving the Klan a taste of their own medicine. He's found by Monica later on, passed out from his burns. This run does a good job of balancing T'Challa's faces: king, hero, black man, humanizing his character. There are quiet moments between T'Challa and Monica. More of his normal personality comes out in their scenes. In this arc, the explanation for Angela's death is non-committal. It's heavily hinted that she was murdered, but the sheriff claims it was a suicide. The real answer isn't given until McGregor's last story before the book was cancelled with issue 24. The Klan gets a permit for a public rally. 1976 wasn't that long ago, but the fear-mongering talking points are familiar. Their plan is to make the Klan an official political organization so it can operate openly. Despite the Klan strapping T'Challa to a burning cross in the last issue, he still pushes to talk to them first. He didn't really stop to converse with them in their other fights. The non-violent approach doesn't work as a Klan member takes out a gun.
Dr. King's policy was that nonviolence would achieve the gains for black people in the United States. His major assumption was that if you are nonviolent, if you suffer, your opponent will see your suffering and will be moved to change his heart. That's very good. He only made one fallacious assumption. In order for nonviolence to work, your opponent must have a conscience. The United States has none.
You always call it a minority problem. And it's true that black or non-white people are minority in any European capital. But we are not a minority in the world. You are the minority. And that's what you cannot face. All you really have, after all, are space shuttles, banks, and weapons. What you don't have anymore is me.
But if the racist white person, I don't mean the person who is examining his consciousness and so on, doesn't understand that he or she is also a race, it's also constructed, it's also made, and it also has some kind of serviceability. But when you take it away, I take your race away, and there you are, all strung out, and all you got is your little self. And what is that? What are you without racism? Are you any good? Are you still strong? You still smart? You still like yourself? I mean, these are the questions. It's part of it is, yes, the victim, how terrible it has been for black people.
You don't like that.
I'm not a victim. I refuse to be one.
In Graham's art, T'Challa makes short work of the Klan, but McGregor's writing shows how deep the Klan's roots are buried in this town, showing how lawyers, cops, and even the town's hardware store guy are involved. Performative normalcy by day, cross burnings by night. The Klan gets clowned. Sales did end up dropping during this arc. The end of the run in general becomes pretty watered down, but that doesn't take away from the impact of Panther's Rage and the Klan arc. Graham left comics for his theater and film career, but he did reunite with McGregor for Saber in the 80s.
If you can only be tall because somebody's on their knees, then you have a serious problem. And my feeling is white people have a very, very serious problem. And they should start thinking about what they can do about it. Take me out of it.
The Klan arc was the straw that broke the camel's back with Marvel editorial. McGregor's run ended shortly after.
It just hit the fan, and I actually was called to the office and they said, Don, you can't do this. What are you doing? And I said, what's the problem? You got the Ku Klux Klan here. I said, you people for 2.5 years have been bugging me for white people.
In 1977, Jack Kirby returned to his character for Panther's first official solo title. He did a good job of keeping other Marvel characters out of the title. Some of his 70s Marvel books had S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, but not too many major Marvel cameos. It's more sci-fi heavy than the Panther's Rage run, showing off Wakanda's technological advancements. Parts of this comic have more Kirby critiques of the comics industry and the collector mindset, attacking those who value objects over human beings. After Kirby's run ended, Marvel Editorial did to Panther's book what they wanted to do with McGregor's run. A common thread between both runs is the writers and artists had faith in Panther's character standing on his own legs, where Editorial just wanted to throw in cameos from a team filled with white characters like the Avengers. The comics industry keeps showing that it's addicted to comfort and often resistant to progress, with small exceptions. I wanted to pick a comic that wasn't super political because, as we all know, comics don't have politics in them. Like, never. Not even once. There's never been anything political about a black guy fighting the Klan. This Jungle Action run is a solid comic to read for seasoned readers, but it's also good for normal people or new readers. The types of people who aren't collecting every issue of X-Men thinking it'll fill the void where a soul should be. As always, my stuff is on my website, essays, transcripts, all my info. If it's not on there, it's not me. Thanks for watching. Chaos ensues.